Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hello there, March 22, 2023. Just setting us in time, I guess. Well, we're just sitting around twiddling our thumbs, waiting for maybe Trump to get arrested. It is the wrong case. Just saying. Whatever. You know, I mean, I read something that, it's not true that this would be the first time a sitting president was arrested. It would be the first time a president sitting or standing or lolling around on a golf course was indicted. There's a difference. The president, the only president who was in fact arrested while he was president, was Ulysses S. Grant. And he was arrested for speeding. I didn't know you could be arrested for speeding in a horse and buggy, but he was. He was arrested for speeding in Washington, D.C. He was out for a joyride. He was well known to be an excellent horseman. And, if not sitting on one, he didn't mind being behind a feisty team. And he was, letting them loose in D.C., and he got stopped by a cop. And the funny thing, the fact is, he stopped. The cop sees who it is and says, "I'm sorry, Mr. President. You're setting a bad example here. You've got to please go the limit." I don't know who knows? I guess that was just something you could tell if somebody was being reckless. And so the president went on his way, supposedly trotting instead of galloping. And the very next day, as the story goes, he was out and doing it again. And the same cop, by the way, the cop was a black man. I know, it blows your mind. What? A black man, a veteran of the Civil War, a veteran soldier. So he and Grant would be, had been comrades in the fight. I can't get to his name because I'm gonna find it. It's fascinating, this story. And perhaps you're ahead of me and you knew it, but so Grant goes and does it again, and the cop is 1872. So I did finally get to it. 1872. This isn't major, but it was a traffic stop. He'd been president for about 3 years. And the policeman who arrested him was William H. West, a black Civil War veteran. And he was interviewed many times. And even in 1908, he's still getting interview requests for this. And so the story he tells it pretty much holds up, apparently, that this did in fact happen. There's some, people who say, I don't know if it happened twice. according to the report, the officer said that the president was driving a pair of fast steppers. And the president, when stopped, asked him, "Well, officer, what do you want with me?" And the cop told him, "You're violating the law. You have to set an example." Grant said he was sorry and he left. And then the next day he did it again. So that part of the story is true. And when he stopped him the second day, he said that Grant smiled sort of like a naughty schoolboy having been caught. And then the cop said, "I am sorry, very sorry, Mr. President, to have to do this, for you are the chief of the nation. But duty is duty, sir, and I will have to place you under arrest." And he did. He took the president to a police station where he was ordered to pay $20. And a trial was set for the next day, and Grant didn't show up. Now, after that, it's unclear, what happened, but it is known that the District of Columbia Police stopped and cited President Grant 3 times for speeding. So there's a third point. So I didn't know you could speed on a horse, and that they had traffic cops. So there you have it. U.S. Grant, oh man, was the first president to be hauled into a police station. But Donald Trump will be the second. And speaking of Donald Trump, I'm sorry, my nose is really. I think is this seasonal allergies? I'm sorry, I'm sniffing in your ears here. Jimmy Kimmel asked, and it's a good question. Come to think of it, he says, "So if Trump does go to prison, I mean, does the Secret Service go with him?" I mean, think of that. Every president, past, former, whatever, they have a Secret Service detail. So does his Secret Service detail have to go to prison with him? I suspect not. But it's just one of the many questions that have yet to be answered. Oh man. It's one of those days when a lot of people are being warned not to go outside. There is one of those orange alerts in Allegheny County, which happen an incredible amount of time. If you look at the fine print, they say someone who's living where I am shouldn't worry. But, it seems to me that these fine particulates that are, always hovering over Clairton and the nearby bailiwicks, they can blow my way. The alert is for the county. And it says that people in certain demographic groups should avoid going outside and breathing the damn stuff, the air. And the affected groups, as I've noted before, represent a rather large percentage of the entire population. And in fact, I'm included in 2 of the groups. I'm elderly. Anybody who's over 65, you're supposed to not breathe today, okay? And children. So all the old people and the young people, if they're following orders from the health folks, will not go out and breathe. And people do. I mean, of course, what? Can you imagine calling into your boss and saying, I can't breathe today. I'm under orders not to breathe, so I won't be coming into work. I don't know. And obviously people with respiratory issues, like me with asthma, it's another group. It's a whole bunch of people. And these things, I've never seen them pop up so constantly. What the hell is our health department doing to that? We know where it's coming from. It's U.S. Steel. They get to poison the population for the few measly jobs they put out here now? Really? The rest of us get poisoned. That's great. So the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection has issued a code orange. Clairton, Glassport, Lincoln, Liberty, Portview, all in Allegheny County. And the groups that would be harmed by breathing the crap that we call air around here are children, the elderly, people suffering from asthma, heart disease, other blah, blah, blah. Avoid outdoor exercise for everybody and strenuous activity. And there you go. It seems like every other day that's the case. And we just accept it. And we don't demand the government do something. Do something, for God's sake. So I did something I wasn't expecting to do last night. I watched a baseball game. It was this sort of world baseball final. It's a relatively new thing, but teams from nations play each other, and this was the final, and it was Japan versus the U.S. And it was a good game. It was a good game. And I normally, I don't know, but I watched much of it. And there is no doubt that this guy, I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, Shohei Ohtani, is the most extraordinary baseball player of all time. Is he not? And he won it for him. Well, not totally. It's a team sport. But it was unbelievable. I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He plays for the Angels. This is a guy who pitches. He's not only an extraordinary pitcher, he's used as a designated hitter, which blows up this whole thing. Well, pitchers can't be hitters. Nobody expects a pitcher to hit. This guy is an extraordinary hitter and an extraordinary pitcher, and he's gorgeous, big, tall, gorgeous guy. I'm totally in love with him. If I were younger. Oh, and he seems like a nice guy. What do I know? Anyway, it was pretty cool. So they took the title away from the Americans, who, by the way, fielded a team that wasn't exactly full of our greatest players. But because a lot of players don't want to risk, I guess, injury or something in a game that, when they're in spring training right now and about to start the season, I don't know. Anyway, I watched it. I was surprised. Roger writes, I'm enjoying a terrible fantasy right now, and you want to share it with us? If Trump and Putin both got arrested, okay, I would pay to watch them fight to the death. Well, hey, Trump would be the goner, don't you think? I mean, he's a lot big. He's a big mass of lard. But Putin is, more, he has used his body in an athletic manner, and I don't mean playing golf. You know, he knows karate and all this kind of. Putin would take him down. Anyway, Roger's fantasy is then the winner gets to spend the rest of their life in prison with untreated syphilis. Jesus, Roger. God. Okay. Almighty. I got myself in a fight last night. It was the voices were not raised. But I took a stand and would not back down, which is not necessarily my style in real life. I'm a wuss in real life. But I was righteous I had done nothing wrong. The other party had done something wrong and refused to acknowledge it. And I was going to entertain you today with a transcript of this argument because it occurred on my phone, but with texts back and forth. And it went on for the longest time. And when I went to look at it again this morning, thinking I would have some fun sharing it with you, it wasn't there. Now, how does a text stream in my text disappear? They were able to erase it, the other side. The other side is corporate, by the way. It involved this is so embarrassing. You know, I'm sort of invalided at the moment. I can't get around. It's hard to, I'm a prisoner in my home. People and friends and my son have been bringing in food and stuff, but you can't have. So I've ordered food in a few times, and I had done that last night through the app Grubhub, which I've done before and always feel guilty about because it's part of the economy that impoverishes Americans, but that also makes the rest of us happy. I just ordered from this wonderful restaurant and it will arrive at my door like that. Poof. So it's sort of everything we've been talking about, how we're all complicit. But last night, I just wanted I ordered a burger and fries. Because, when you have a yearning for a burger and fries, I mean, there's just something that, your body is saying, I do need this. It will give me comfort and pleasure. And so I ordered it. And then I get the notification that it's been delivered. And I toddled to my front door where they leave the stuff. There was nothing there. And I thought, it has not been delivered. Don't tell me it's been delivered. Well, that's when it started. First of all, it took me the longest time to actually find a way to tell them, incorrect. You might think you delivered it, but it ain't here where I am, and I paid for it. I find this thing, it was a riot. I mean, really, went back and forth. I can't tell you how many times I said, you're not human. I know I'm not, I was not talking to a human being. It was clearly artificially, intelligently, I was having an argument with a machine and an algorithm that have been taught how to deal with angry customers like me. because of the kind of stilted, the obvious. And I kept saying, "Could I talk to a human being?" And I mean, it got so absurd. At one point, the person, we actually found out, us going back and forth, the robot and me, that in fact, it had been delivered, but not to me, to this house, to another house on the street. I said, "It's cold now. I don't want it. I'd like another. Would you please, it was your mistake, will you please have a nice warm burger and fries sent to my correct address?" They said, "Of course." But it was clear. I said, no. And I do not intend to pay for this. I said, I want to be made whole. You get me my food. This took over an hour. You get me my food. Anyway, back, forth. It was just a slight taste of what the future holds. And frankly, at the end, where I stopped talking to him, the little robot freaked out and said, "I will maintain a connection, even with your silence," or something like that. Blah, 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 blah. And then it warned me it was going to cut me off. And it did. And then my phone rang. And there it was. It was a human being with a Chicago cell phone number. And I refused to pick it up. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I didn't even want to deal with a human being at that point. Hey, by the way, when my son came over to walk the dog, I said, "Hey, go next door and see if there's a bag there with a burger and fries in it." He went next door, and sure enough, he came back with a bag with a cold cheeseburger and some really cold fries. And I stuck them in the toaster oven, and it was fine. I ended up enjoying the meal. But God, to end up having to spend so much time talking to a non-sentient machine pretending to be human. I hate it. And who knows if that call would have been human? "Hello, I am your customer." God! Dear God. Chris writes, "I work for U.S. Steel, and they must be spending so much money on propaganda, making commercials and handing us mugs and shirts saying environmental excellence." They do? I laugh at how they're doing so much for our clean air and water every time there's a Code Orange Action Day. It's despicable. Excuse me. I know it's not nice. But I know I've really been on a jag about this book. I vowed last night I will not use, and I told them, I have given so much money to you guys, Grubhub. I said, I'm done. This is it. I'm finished. You've been penny wise and pound foolish. I just wanted a refund, and you've given me, I never told them I actually found the meal next door. Anyway, but that's going to be hard on me, because especially given my invalid status, and it is so convenient and stuff. But as I said, I have always felt, sometimes more than other times, a measure of guilt. And the way I've assuaged my guilt by aiding and abetting this business model that keeps Americans in a state of poverty, right, is that I have overly tipped the person who delivers it. So they have on the tip thing. They really do. You can say, give them 15%, which, like, you know, it amounts to like give the poor soul who's using their own car and gas to bring you this hot meal, and you're going to give them $2. So you can go up to 30% on their thing, or you can go higher to customize it. And there was one time when I gave the driver pretty much as much as the meal cost. And this is just to assuage my guilt. But the better way to assuage my guilt is to not participate in these kind of business models, where we, the consumer, are lured in, hooked in by the convenience. Right? So this is good for me. I'm done with Grubhub, and I'm done in this regard aiding and abetting the American system of keeping an entire underclass. Keeping an entire underclass pinned down, unable to climb to climb out, to get out, and where most of us benefit. We're all part of it. This guy's book, by the way, Poverty by America, is increasingly being called out as a book that should start a kind of revolution. I have a caller, I think. Hello.
Jonathan?
Yeah?
It's Jonathan. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. A couple things. First of all, about your Grubhub thing. I do use those services occasionally. I tried not to after you had, was it Lisa from City Paper at the time? I believe you had a guest.
Yes.
And she had done an article about it. That was very enlightening. But sometimes
yes.
I still do use them. But I ordered the other day from Chipotle, I think it was, for my daughter and I. And it was totally wrong. So I went on the app and it gave choices. What's wrong with your order? Is it wrong protein, wrong topping? But there's no way to say everything. It's completely
Well, that's exactly
wrong.
what I had. That's what
Really?
I said. I could only tell them that it hadn't been, what part of your order is missing? They didn't have anything for me to say, you delivered to the wrong address, you creep. So I had to say, the hamburger was missing. The French fries were missing. And it took, the pickle was missing.
Right,
took, same thing.
Well, what I did was I Googled for Chipotle customer support phone number and reached the nicest person, and we were laughing. And I told, the Chipotle has a name for their bot. The bot's name is Pepper. And so I told the woman I was talking to, I said, Pepper and I are not getting along. And so we were laughing, and she fixed it for me. It was all fine. But to reach a human, it's nearly impossible. But I did reach one that way. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Shohei Ohtani. He's amazing, that ball.
God.
And like you said, he's gorgeous on top of it all.
Oh. And he's so young. I mean, he's just going to be
baby face.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
I didn't plan to watch either, but I was seeing what was on, and I saw that it was the championship, so I figured, well, I'll tune in. and the drama of it, that it comes down to the last batter, and it's like Mighty Casey, and the fact that it's
explain who it was. He ends up he's on the mound, brought in with 2 out, right? 2 out.
Well, he was brought in the top of the inning, so there were none.
Oh, at the top of the inning. All right, so he's got two outs, and the game's on the line, and up for the Americans comes Mike Trout, right? Who is his teammate on the Angels.
Teammate and friend, yes.
And friend.
The drama.
And they've been laughing about what if it comes down to, and it did. And he struck him out.
And I loved it when Ohtani threw his first fastball, which was 100 miles an hour, that Trout gave him a nod, like, good one. Okay. It was just mano a mano. And it was really exciting. Now, let me ask you this. Who were you rooting for?
That's interesting. I don't know that I was rooting for anybody.
I was.
Is that possible?
I was rooting.
You were rooting for the Japanese.
I was, because thinking of what it would mean to that country. Yeah, and seeing those fans holding their flags, and of course all those young girls swooning because of Ohtani.
Because of him. Oh my God.
And I thought to myself, gee, I know I should be rooting for the Americans, but look how much it means to them, and what a story and everything. So I couldn't help myself.
I have been watching a lot of sports with March Madness and then this. And it's interesting because I don't necessarily have a dog in the race, although in this case, the dog was America, but I'm, I don't know. I don't give a damn. I really haven't, I don't know that I was rooting for anybody, just as with a lot of the games I watched in the NCAA tournament.
Well, for me with the NCAA, all I wanted were upsets, because those are just so.
Yeah. You always rooting for the underdog. Always rooting for the underdog. Right. Well,
and you mentioned on Monday, you said there's not another game till Thursday. What am I going to do? And I was feeling the same way. Because I just love it. Is the best tournament. Yeah. The best tournament.
It's funny that you and I watch the same things, because the other thing I know that Jonathan is totally into is my default station, which is Turner Classic Movies, Movie Classic, CCM. Yeah. And I know you, go there all the time. My problem now is I've seen so many of the movies, like at least 20 times,
I'm starting to get to that point too, and I have certain ones that I want to rewatch just because I love them so much. Oh, you know what I just found out exists in Pittsburgh, and I didn't know about it before. There's a classic movie club or something, and I should send you a link to it. But they rent out, they show movies like at the Carnegie Library in Homestead and other places. And I think I saw them because somebody told me they had seen them on Pittsburgh Today Live. But it's they rent out theaters and show classics. And last week they showed one of my favorites. I didn't go to see it, but Brief Encounter, which is a movie that just wrecks me when I see it. I love that movie.
Is that the one in the train station all the time?
Yeah.
I don't know. Which one? It is.
I can't, yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my God, that movie.
Yes, it's beautiful.
Okay, we got to stop. There are people who are saying, what?
There's people who are yeah.
Who's in Brief Encounter? Who are those actors? Who's the man and the woman?
They're two British actors.
You don't really?
The woman, no, I really don't. I can't place their names.
Okay. But
all right.
It's just heart-wrenching. Yeah, thank you.
And she's beautiful. All right, Lynn. Talk to you later.
All right, goodbye. Yeah. Oh, God. You made me think of one more sports-related thing, and then I'll get down to my usual depressing self. I saw in the obits that Willis Reed had died at the age of 80. He was a basketball player for the Knicks. And normally, would I know that? I don't know. But I at the time was living in New York City. It was like 1969, I think, 1969, 1970. I'm living in New York, barely. And the Knicks, they were hot. And so I was a fan, and I'm watching them. And I had a flash of one of the most exciting sightings of a celebrity that I had while living in New York, because you do see, famous people a lot just wandering around. I was on a bus, and the bus stopped, and standing on the corner, dressed in, I swear, it looked like it was made from a leopard. I don't know, some unbelievable, shouldn't have had it, fur coat. It was this massive, gorgeous human being who had this incredible hat on too. I immediately recognized him as Willis Reed's teammate, Walt Frazier, who I think was known, was he not? Wasn't Walt Frazier known as like a snazzy dresser? Well, geez, I'd never seen. I thought, oh my God, look at that. Look at that astonishing human being. Oh, so, rest in peace, Willis Reed. I don't know if, is Frazier still alive? Hate to think of these guys dying on me. Oh, well. So, just in case I haven't made you crazy with this poverty thing I'm on, I just want to share a few things. First of all, I do want to say this. The New Yorker piece on it ends thusly. This book deserves to be one of those books you see people reading on the subway or handing around at meetings or citing in congressional hearings. Its moral force is a gut punch. So I got punched. And I haven't even read the book yet. I just read a ton of reviews of the book, and that'll give you a gut punch. And it's hard because it, as I say and have said, it points the finger at us all. At how we just somehow manage to get through our lives and avoid seeing what we've created, the system we've created, and the poverty, and the people living in that poverty. And I'm not talking just about homeless who are multiplying in terrifying, outrageous ways in this country. He talks about how the laws we have always benefit the people who already have money. He talks about housing exploitation, and we keep the prices of our houses up by having a dearth of affordable housing for others. Wow, the rents that people pay are outrageous. Outrageous. If most people could get out of being a renter into what used to be called a starter home, immediately their mortgage payment would maybe cut in half what they'd been paying in rent. We just don't have that stock of affordable homes for people. We do not. No one makes much money on them, I guess. These people can't get money through banks. And landlords benefit from all this housing exploitation. But think of, if you own a home, you get federal aid. You don't think of it as federal aid, but what the hell is that mortgage interest deduction on your income tax? What is that? That's a hunk of money. Now, it doesn't come to you in a check, like a welfare check, but man, that's welfare. It's government giving you a subsidy. In fact, listen to this. Our government paid out to homeowners through this mortgage interest deductions and other subsidies, paid out $193 billion. $193 billion to us homeowners. You know how much they paid out in housing assistance to low-income people? $53 billion. The people who need it are not the ones targeted. So, he asked questions like, here's something like I didn't know. Do you know that landlords, when they throw somebody out on the street, that there are businesses that have built up around knowing that people are being thrown out onto the street? Moving companies have moved in, seeing an entrepreneurial opportunity. And what they do is they come in and take the last piece of that evicted person's stuff, down to shower curtains, and puts them in storage. Isn't that nice? Here are people whose stuff has been put on the street. We will pick it all up, every bit of it, and put it in storage for them until they stop sleeping in their car or in a tent and can actually find another place with bad plumbing and peeling paint and doors that don't lock, for some exorbitant price. But guess what? When the people go to get their stuff, it turns out the cost to reclaim their own furniture, their own belongings, is sometimes something they cannot afford. We prey on the poor. It is about our sense of right and wrong, our morality. The fact that the United States, which, let's just put this in perspective, we have a gross national product, gross domestic, same thing, right? Product, that is bigger than the economies of Japan, Germany, the UK, India, France, and Italy. And yet we have a higher poverty rate than every single one of those countries. What does that say about us? And what this guy, his name, by the way, is Matthew Desmond. Desmond argues that we have made, as a group, as a society, as a national community of people, we have made a priority not of helping the less fortunate, God knows, but of maximal accumulation of wealth for the few and cheap stuff for the many. Yep, that's America. The American government just constantly gives the most help to those who need it the least. And, you know, people are people. Somebody's giving you money, you don't say, no, no, no. I took that mortgage deduction. I've taken every little deduction I can. But the whole thing is tilted for somebody like me who doesn't need that, really. And people who benefit from, say, a mortgage interest tax deduction, we don't ever see that as being the recipient of some generosity by the government. But that is what it is. James Baldwin said this. I love this quote. Anyone who has ever struggled with poverty knows how extremely expensive it is to be poor. You know, where I got some sense of it, where it was when I used to ride the bus on the East Busway to get down to Smithfield Street when I was doing the show from City Paper's offices there. Bus dropped me right off there. And riding the bus, one hears conversations. And I cannot tell you how many times I heard conversations of people who were struggling with like an overdraft fee from a bank that they couldn't believe and they could not pay. And you see, and the fact that, I mean, poor people get put in a bind constantly. I was listening to this and I was thinking, oh my God. It turns out that our banking system allows banks to charge those overdrawn fees multiple times in one day. So that a tiny overdraft on an account can rack up fees of more than $100 in a matter of hours. And did I know that? I didn't know that. Anyway. That's why I try not to order from Amazon. I try so hard not to, but I don't see many other people doing that. And now I'll stop the Grubhub crap. Why do we support these business models that don't pay people a fair wage, a living wage? We are complicit. Ellen writes, I grew up in and around New York City and was in high school when the Knicks were in their heyday of Willis Reed. Oh my God, yeah. Earl the Pearl Monroe, Bill Bradley, Jerry Lucas, Walt Frazier, Dave DeBuscher. Oh my God, what a team. I love the team, and my mom took me to about one game a year during that period. I am no longer a pro basketball fan. The game has changed so much and the character of the players has diminished to the extent that I can't watch anymore. That era of the Knicks was so unique and I don't think can be matched. And yes, it was Walt Clyde Frazier, who was a very flashy dresser. Well, oh man, I'd never seen a man done up like that. 69 or 70. And then Ellen says, oh, and I forgot. That's, it's true. It's true that Phil Jackson, who later went on, of course, to be the extraordinary coach, NBA coach, was also a teammate of those guys on that Knick team. Yeah. Incredible. So, what do I got here? I'm looking. Hey, I mentioned a bit when Susan was on yesterday about how the UN report on global warming is. I can't even read it because the people of the world are not responding to these calls of alarm. Haven't ever really done a few things here and there, but it's not enough. And I saw a piece, I think this was in the Atlantic, that said, this latest warning, they're all dire. I mean, I think we've all been tuning them out because no one wants to hear what they say. It's sort of, no news is good news, and this is news. And the author of this said, the idea that this latest report will spur action on the part of the world's governments when so many previous alarms and alerts have failed to requires not just hope, but it would seem something close to delusion. And then they go on to say that just last week, the Biden administration approved an enormous new oil drilling venture, the Willow Project in Alaska. What? Yeah. And the report says, we can't do that. We have to stop. And so you even get, Democrats, supposedly people who listen to this stuff and don't think global warming's a hoax, not doing the right thing. And the author says, so this group of scientists, this international group of scientists is already gearing up for the next assessment cycle. They just keep plugging along, and it will begin this summer. And even before it begins, a summary of the results can be composed. We know already, and here we're gonna tell you what the next report is gonna say. The world will continue to warm. The damage will increase, and the global response will be inadequate. And that's just the way it is. Jonathan has written back that movie, Brief Encounter, starred. It's a wonderful movie. It's from what? Is an old one. Trevor Howard And the woman is Celia Johnson. And we don't, yeah, I don't, she was not a big star. She was not a big star. But David Lean directed it. And he went on to direct some extraordinary movies. Didn't he direct Lawrence of Arabia? I don't know. But it mostly takes part in a railway station. And it is Noel Coward was part of the writing team. Wow. So there you have it. Brief Encounter. What a good movie. Surprising. Good movie. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else I got here. Oh, man, you can't even make this up. You cannot make this up. A hospital in Idaho has joined apparently a growing list of hospitals around the country, especially in red states, that are simply closing down their delivery wards. I mean, if a woman wants to give birth, they ain't going there. They're closing down obstetrics and gynecology wards. The hospital in Idaho, the latest one that did this, Bonner General Health, noted the legal and political climate in the state, which they felt put them at risk. Do you believe this? So hospitals are closing down the departments that women need for their health because pro-lifers have created an environment in which even people in the medical profession are fearful of providing care, even delivering a baby. And what will that do? So this particular story, they talk about one pregnant woman who is now, because it's in a rural area, is now over an hour away from the next possible hospital to deliver her baby, and her anxiety levels have gone sky high. It's really amazing. The war on women. The war on women. And this will result, I assure you, in more death of both babies and mothers. And again, as a country, we are shameful in where we stand on maternal health indexes. Indices. Just shameful. I don't know, guys. There's so many things that are wrong and broken, and that we've got to find the will to fix, because they're things that make people's lives shorter or unbearable. I don't know. I don't know. So I'll stop. I'll stop. I will. I'll shut up. And I guess I'll talk to you again tomorrow, okay? And have a good one on this gray day. Have a good one, and try not to aid and abet this cruel economy that we've allowed. Try. Make every time you're going to buy something, think about how you can do it without harming some other American who is struggling to stay alive in this cruel economy. Okay? Let's try.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.